After the wind of destruction had swept across the land of Ad, the dunes of Al-Ahqaf buried their pride, their pillars, and their names beneath the sands. The survivors, led by Prophet Hud, and the few who had believed, travelled far in search of a new home. They crossed valleys, plains, and mountains until they found a fertile land surrounded by cliffs and carved stone. Al-Hijr, the Valley of Stone. Generations passed. Hud and his followers lived and died, and their children multiplied. In time, a new people arose, the Thamud. They had inherited stories of the past, tales of the mighty Ad and their destruction. But the lessons had faded into legend. In their hearts, pride began to grow again. The people of Thamud were skilled in craftsmanship beyond compare. They carved their homes into the mountains, creating dwellings of beauty and strength that could withstand centuries. Their architecture was so precise that travelers would stop in awe, wondering how such perfection could be made by human hands. Allah blessed them with fertile fields, flowing springs, and abundant livestock. But as prosperity grew, so did arrogance. They turned from the worship of the one Creator and began to honor lifeless idols. They claimed their skill and wealth were the results of their own power, not the mercy of Allah. Among them lived a man named Salih, known from youth for his wisdom, honesty, and noble character. His people respected him deeply, and many had hoped he would one day become their leader. But Allah had chosen him for something greater, to be a prophet, to call the people of Thamud back to the path of truth. One morning, Salih stood before his people in the marketplace, his voice calm but firm. "O my people, worship Allah. You have no deity other than Him. A clear proof has come to you from your Lord. This is the She-Camel of Allah as a sign for you. So leave her to eat in Allah's land, and do her no harm, or you will be seized by a painful punishment." The leaders of Thamud had demanded a miracle to prove Salih's message. They pointed to a great rock and mocked him, saying, "If you are truly sent by your God, bring forth from this rock a she-camel, full-grown and pregnant." By Allah's will, the rock split apart, and from it emerged a magnificent she-camel, unlike any they had seen. Tall, radiant, and pure, it was a living sign, a reminder that Allah creates as He wills. But this miracle came with a command. The she-camel would graze freely on the land, and no one was to harm her. She would drink from the water of the valley one day, and the people's livestock would drink the next. At first, some believed, but the prideful leaders called the miracle a trick. They spread whispers that Salih sought to take control over them, that his camel was a test they didn't need to follow. Days passed, and the she-camel moved peacefully among them, a constant silent reminder of Allah's power. But to the arrogant, her presence became unbearable. They saw her as a threat to their authority and wealth. A group of them conspired in secret. Under the cover of night, they approached the she-camel and slaughtered her. Her cry echoed through the valley, a sound that froze the hearts of the believers and sealed the fate of the disbelievers. Salih's voice trembled with both grief and warning as he spoke. "Enjoy yourselves in your homes for 3 days. That is a promise not to be denied." The sky above the valley seemed heavier in those days. On the first day, the faces of the disbelievers turned pale. On the second, they darkened to a deep red. On the third, they turned black as night. At dawn on the fourth day, the punishment came. A mighty blast, a single cry from the heavens shook the earth. The mountains trembled, and the hearts of the disbelievers stopped in an instant. Their bodies fell where they stood motionless. The valley that once echoed with laughter and trade became silent. Only Salih and the few who had believed in him were spared. They left the valley, looking back one last time at the carved stone homes that still stood, but without life inside them. The story of Thamud became a second warning, following the fate of our two nations, both blessed with strength and skill, both destroyed by arrogance and disbelief. And so the chain of prophets continued, each carrying the message of the one God to a people blinded by pride. The wind that had carried the dust of Ad now swept gently through the empty homes of Thamud, whispering the same eternal truth. It is not your strength nor your wealth, but your obedience to Allah that will save you.